Cancelled twice before, but Barack Obama is at last in Australia tonight on his first visit here as US President. Air Force One landed in Canberra this afternoon to official greetings, ultra-high security and a few protesters outside Parliament House. SBS chief political correspondent Karen Middleton is covering today's momentous events in the nation's capital. Karen, a very big day indeed.
Yes, Mike, indeed. Here at Parliament House, much excitement. The President is in the building. This was a visit that was first arranged when Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister, so Julia Gillard is very pleased to have the President here. He and she have just announced expanded defence ties involving more US Marines training in the Northern Territory. But the rest of this visit is really just about saying g'day.
Twice promised, third time lucky. The US President is finally in Australia. Barack Obama touched down in Canberra 10 minutes early and 2 years late. Under protocol, the Governor-General greets a visiting head of state. This introductory handshake went on and on. The Prime Minister and President now know each other well, and he and the US Ambassador are old friends. First official stop, Parliament House, and the usual ceremonies. Complete with bombs bursting in air. A few new student politicians got their own warm greeting and some tips from a pro.
You're the official Prime Minister? Of course. Well, it's so nice to meet you.
Outside, the security was extreme as parts of Canberra went into lockdown. But inside, even the formalities became less so. On the serious side, they've also signed up to stronger defence ties. From next year, the US will begin sending American Marines to the Northern Territory on 6-month rotating training stints at Australian bases in the dry season. There'll be some joint exercises, but for the first time under the alliance, they'll also train alone.
What we have in mind is training, access to facilities, exercises and the like. Will that involve larger numbers? Yes, it will.
It'll start with 250 US Marines next year, rising to 2,500 by 2016. There'll also be more US military aircraft flying into Australia and eventually more ship visits too. Former diplomat and Cabinet Secretary, the ANU's Michael L'Estrange, believes it's a natural evolution of the relationship.
This alliance with the US has a bedrock importance to Australia, and that's why this visit by President Obama is so important.
It's about the US commitment to the Asia-Pacific. They're downplaying concern at the rise of China.
The United States and China have a complex but a vital relationship, and that's understood on both sides. This isn't the Cold War. This isn't the era of containment.
India, Indonesia, New Zealand and China were briefed in advance. Tomorrow morning, the President visits the War Memorial and a local school before addressing a joint meeting of both Houses of Parliament. And recalling the last time a US President did that, the Speaker's written to all members and senators, asking them to behave. During President George W. Bush's address, Greens Senators Bob Brown and Kerry Nettle heckled the visitor. But Senator Brown says Barack Obama is a different president and he won't be doing it again. So no trouble from him in the House this time, it seems.
Not at all, Karen, but tell me, it's a very warm welcome from the President. What do you think he can take out of this very short visit?
Well, it's a warm welcome for him, and it's been a very warm greeting from him as well. He greeted those school children very warmly, and the message he wrote in the visitors' book at Parliament was quite lengthy, talking about the 60th anniversary of the US alliance, which is the official reason for his visit, and the warm bonds between Australia and the United States that he says will continue for all time. And of course, he's also made much of the joint sacrifice of Australian soldiers and US soldiers fighting in Afghanistan.
Karen, military links and in particular the planned stationing of US Marines has featured strongly in their talks. What else can you tell us about what they've announced?
Well, it's interesting, Mike, that this is going to involve US forces training on their own. This is something that hasn't happened before. It is a strengthening of ties, but it's also a symbolic statement to the region that the US is committed to this region. Now, China might be very nervous about seeing more US troops based in Australia and may well take that as an indication that the US is prepared for anything that China might bring on. It's not a huge number of troops if you look at the number of US troops stationed around the Asia-Pacific in places like Japan and Guam, but it is making a statement of a US troop build-up on a rotational basis between now and 2016.
Well, President Obama and the Prime Minister have just given a news conference. What did they have to say?
Well, they talked about this defence announcement. They've just announced that, and Julia Gillard opened the news conference with, of course, the usual greetings. But I have to say, she was a little bit nervous, as you might hear from these excerpts.
We will be looking back during this visit. We'll be looking back at 60 years of the ANZUS alliance. We'll be looking back 10 years to the dreadful day of 9/11, a day we all remember with great sorrow. And we will be reflecting on those events, but we will be looking forward.
In my friend Julia, I see the quality that we Americans admire most in our Australian friends. Somebody who's down to earth, easy to talk to, and who says it like it is, straight up. And that's why we achieved so much today.
Yes, Karen, it's a short and sweet visit, but tell us, an especially busy day for the President tomorrow?
Yeah, it's chaotically busy actually, Mike. It's only just over 24 hours, the whole visit. But the President will go to the US Embassy and plant a tree, which is traditional when a President visits, and indeed when an Australian Prime Minister visits the US. They do the same thing. There will be that visit to a lucky school in Canberra. There are a number of schools that have been checked out, but we still don't know which one that will be. And of course the wreath laying at the War Memorial, and then the President is on a plane and off to Darwin, where he will meet with troops in Darwin and of course emphasise the military relationship, the bombing of Darwin in World War II, and the basis of this visit again, which is the 60th anniversary of the ANZUS alliance. And then he's out of the country again and off to Bali to the East Asian Summit, where Julia Gillard will also be going.
All right, thank you very much, Karen Middleton in Canberra.